Yes. Welcome. My microphone was backwards. Sorry about that. Real quick, actually, I'm like closer to my mic than I normally am. Uh, I have. Oh, my mic is. Oh, hello. Presser. Is I have to alter? I have. I'll just leave it as is, I guess. Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to my reaction. These are the Deviant Horror Wars is actually already started, and so I'm trying to ignore the chat because I don't know uh what's been shown and everything. I forgot that this was happening. Well, I didn't forget, but I didn't know what time it was happening, so I was a little late to it and everything. So hopefully everything is going good and everything. I told you I was gonna try. Okay, but we're gonna go ahead and get okay, I'm gonna stop looking at stuff because so I don't remember. I didn't see a bunch of horror movies last year, but I'm excited nonetheless to like see like what hap what the dealio is. Not like quick to pull the live stream chat and everything up. Does comment. I online. All right. All right. That right there. All right. All right. Let us full screen, and we start watching the Dead Meat Horror Award. I'm in the Discord, so if anyone actually wants to join me, um, great. But I don't know. I don't know if any of my friends are actually interested in this like I am. But I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this. So all right. Here we go. Oh.
What for?
4.
You guys look amazing.
Yeah, we do. Is Michael doing socials?
No.
Wait, is it all? Oh, they're referencing a bunch of stuff. Oh.
Tim, do you have those script revisions? Nice. How do I pronounce this?
Come to me.
I'll just wing it.
Do we still have a dance number?
You are late.
Pretty good.
Yeah. We gotta go. Okay.
It's the 2025 Dead Meat Horror Awards!
All right, you ready?
Uh-huh. Okay.
Hey everyone, we're thrilled to welcome you back to the Dead Meat Horror Awards, where we honor the best of the genre from the past year. This year, we'd like to thank our sponsor, NordVPN, who we'll be hearing from at the end of the show.
It's so exciting that 4 years in, we still have plenty of new and thrilling things to talk about thanks to horror fans and filmmakers. I think everyone can agree that 2024 was a particularly outstanding year for the genre.
As per usual, we were treated to a slew of sequels and remakes with innovative follow-ups to recent favorites and surprising new perspectives on old classics.
And of course, horror also treated us to some of the most original movies of the year. From grounded and gritty to colorful and stylized, this year's nominees proved just how much this genre is capable of.
Yeah, in fact, the movies were so exemplary, some of them broke into the mainstream. The Substance, Nosferatu, and Alien Romulus were all recognized by the traditional award shows.
It's the kind of acknowledgement and respect that we hope to continue seeing in the future.
But in the meantime, we'll pick up the slack, since there's a lot of incredible work being done. That's why we at Dead Meat, alongside other award shows like the Saturns and the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, will continue to uplift and celebrate the wonderful talent behind our favorite horror movies. And for the first time this year, we'll be getting a look at some upcoming movies as well, thanks to our partners at Neon.
Tonight, we'll be handing out 12 awards thanks to the addition of our brand new prime rib for production design. Once again, we've been joined by a panel consisting of friends and film buffs who love the genre just as much as we do. We'll introduce you to them later, but for now, we'll turn things over to our good friend and co-host, Soren Gavoyich.
Yeah, Zoran!
Thanks, guys. I gotta say, it was no easy task narrowing down our nominees from more than 150 horror movies that came out in 2024. I mean, seriously, it was very difficult. There was a lot of lively debate. But while we couldn't honor all of them with a nomination, we'd like to highlight as many as we can with a montage. Enjoy!
Yeah, just give me a good recap.
The living, the dead.
Wait, are they
Can
really
they
throwing
coexist?
Beetlejuice in there? Look, I'm sorry.
That's what we're here to find
It's
out.
not a horror movie. Yeah, Nosferatu's
I'm
running
going to
some
make a
stuff.
very disturbing claim tonight. It will make your stomachs sink a little and your hearts beat faster. It may even make you want to die. Run.
You can hide.
Oh, Alien
but you'll
Romulus
never
is
get
definitely
away.
winning something.
I was wondering when you were finally going to show.
Sometimes the wrong path leads us to the right place. You'll understand soon enough.
Why are you doing this?
Because you let us.
Sometimes I don't see humans. I see devils.
Of course, Terrifier 3.
This fucking guy.
Daddy!
What are you, animals?
I'm sorry about what's going to happen.
Wait, that
to
was last year? Quiet Place Day 1 was last year?
Should always smile.
It's the only way to stop the monster.
Monsters aren't real.
Yes, they are.
Mile 2 is the, imaginary better not win anything. Imaginary suck.
hands now?
That's a fucking weird way to put it.
You can't control anything.
Blood will be spilt.
Oh. Oh yeah, Maxine. Abigail was also this year, wasn't it? That was last year. I believe so.
Fuck it. break stuff.
We'd like to kick things off with a category that I think belongs at all movie award shows, regardless of genre.
From dance sequences to monster movement to simulated violence, stunts and choreography allow horror movies to bend the human body in ways that frighten and amaze.
But those amazing moments don't come without risks. With cast and crew putting their safety and bodies on the line, it's up to talented stunt coordinators and choreographers to make sure people are comfortable and capable of executing a scene.
Here to present the finalists for Best Stunts and Choreography is someone who's not afraid to throw their body into their performances.
Hey y'all! Thank you so much, James, and thank you so much, Chelsea. It's Janelle Monáe here, and as a performer, you get used to bringing different physicality to a variety of projects. I've played robots. Hello. Soldiers. Attention! And twins. Yes, there are two of me. Just go there with me. I've danced, I've fought, and I've run for my life. And none of that will be possible without the talented stunt coordinators and choreographers like tonight's nominees. That's right. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Woo!
The nominees for Best Stunts or Choreography are Abigail.
Though Alicia Weir had extensive dance background, she was a newcomer to ballet, especially dancing on point. She trained for 8 weeks with choreographer Belinda Murphy to shoot the film's opening routine to Swan Lake. For the film's fight scenes, Weir did some of the flying and wire work herself, with Rochelle Beinart serving as her stunt double for the most difficult sequences. A highlight of the movie is the puppet dance sequence between Abigail and Sammy as she controls her. Catherine Newton used her ballet expertise to develop a 3-minute dance with Murphy. They assumed that directors Radio Silence would only use a portion of it. Instead, the filmmakers opted to shoot the whole thing.
Alien Romulus.
Production designer Naaman Marshall collaborated with the stunt team.
I still need to watch the
rigging into
Alien
the set
movies,
itself,
and I've
turning
never
the
seen.
spaceship Renaissance into a playground that accommodated
I heard
the
this
needs of
new
the
movie
film's
was
copious
freaking
wire work.
fantastic.
We have incorporated stunt rails so that all the harnesses and all the mechanics actually are designed into the set, so we can have trolleys that run through here with one point in the center.
While shooting the zero-gravity sequences in Alien Romulus, supervising stunt coordinator Mark Franklin Henson worked with the actors to make the action feel grounded and natural, even as the characters floated through space. Mads is a kinetic infection horror film, impressively consisting of a single unbroken 90-minute take. To achieve this monumental task, director David Moreau had to rely on his cast and crew. Every movement from them, as well as the camera itself, was meticulously choreographed by cinematographer Philip Lozano. A single flubbed sequence, or something as simple as the camera running out of battery, would mean they had to start all over again from the beginning.
That's also cinematography.
Moreau rehearsed with his actors for 1 week in a room, 1 week on location, and 1 week with the crew before spending one final 4th week actually filming, until they nailed the unbroken 90-minute take.
Smile 2.
Actress Naomi Scott only
some of
had
the
2.5 days of
choreography
dance
is
rehearsals
cool.
to play troubled pop star Sky Riley. Luckily, choreographer Celia Ralston Hall had years of experience working with artists like Alicia Keys, as well as numerous films and commercials. She used that experience to help develop Sky's artistic style.
I was really craving something that was immediately pop, but not bubblegum. I wanted something that felt more artistically inclined, more raw edge,
They
more
included their
personal,
interview.
that had this kind of eccentric nature to it. And we discussed, I wanted it to feel like somewhere between dance and movement.
Ralston Hall also helped create the film's demonic flash mob, which featured the same backup dancers used in the tour rehearsal scenes. The movement of the mob was inspired by Bob Fosse, along with the movements of ghosts in Hideo Nakata films like The Ring.
The Substance.
Though Margaret Qualley is a trained dancer, she struggled getting into Sue's confident mindset when performing her aerobicized dance routines. She worked one-on-one with choreographer Marion Motine, who helped her learn a pop star-esque movement style that she would never have come up with on her own. For the film's violent showdown between Elizabeth and Sue, wire work was needed to pull off the intense fight choreography. The sequence was as physically demanding for the crew as it was for the actors, as camera and boom operators had to sprint after more as she ran down down the apartment's winding hallways. The film's climax used a fire hose to spray blood at an audience full of stunt performers, with the hose itself controlled by a stunt performer in the Monstro Elizasu suit.
VHS Beyond.
The sci-fi horror anthology features stunts and choreography as diverse as its segments, from musical numbers to alien encounters. The segment Dream Girl, directed by Virat Paul, features a Bollywood song and dance spectacle choreographed by Abhishek Pai, who had previously worked as an assistant choreographer on several Bollywood films. Actress Namrata Sheth only had 2 days to prepare and learn the musical number. For the short Live and Let Dive, director Justin Martinez combined digital effects with real skydiving footage. For Kate Siegel's segment Stowaway, she was reluctant to rely heavily on wire work for anti-gravity effects. Only one wire stunt was used, when actress Alana Pierce was violently thrown across a spaceship. The rest of the time her character was floating around, Pierce was atop 2 apple boxes on a furniture dolly and had to sell the effect through her movement alone.
And the prime rib for best stunts or choreography goes to the moment you all been waiting for. Smile too.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
The first award is a
Congratulations to
movie
the
I've
entire
seen.
team of
Okay.
Smile 2 for a toe tapping and skin crawling good time.
Congratulations to Smile 2. The goal for most films is to make their choreography feel natural and spontaneous. It was a treat to see a movie do the exact opposite and to bring movement to the forefront for some unique scares.
While our culture has thankfully come around to the value of the real and tangible on screen, it's come at the partial expense of an entire industry. Lately, we've seen an unfortunate increase in studios trying to hide the work of visual effects artists for the sake of advertising their movies.
While it's true some productions might use digital effects as a band-aid or a way to save money, others cleverly utilize them to bring their creative visions to life. Those are the films we want to honor here tonight.
Okay.
Presenting this award is a filmmaker who knows VFX aren't just for big blockbuster movies. They're also a helpful tool for indie filmmakers overcoming the limitations of a low budget. In fact, he won the prime rib for visual effects for his work in his feature debut, Benny Loves You. Say it with me now, it's Carl Holt!
Thanks, James and Chelsea. At their finest, digital effects immerse us so completely that we don't even
We
question
reviewed this
what
movie
we're
on the
seeing.
channel.
A form of movie magic,
Well,
where
Benny
with
Loves
just a
You.
click, I could summon fire in the palm of my hand. Or interact with wild exotic animals from distant realms, each rendered with astonishing realism. Majestic. The nominees in this category don't just make things look real, they make us feel. And whether the work comes from big studio teams or independent creators, great effects aren't just impressive, they're invisible. The nominees for Best Digital Effects are Alien Romulus.
Director Fede Alvarez
probably
wanted
gonna win.
Alien Romulus's practical and digital effects to work together seamlessly, with the audience unable to tell where one ended and the other began. This included sets, spaceships, and of course, the aliens themselves. ILM worked under visual effects supervisor Nelson Sepulveda Fauser to match the movements of the xenomorphs and facehuggers to their practical versions. The effects house was responsible for one of the film's most disturbing visuals, when an X-ray wand reveals a chestburster gestating inside a character's torso. To achieve this, they digitally built all the character's organs, skeletal, muscular, and circulatory structures, and then added an animation to match the practical chestburster puppet. They also animated the floating acid during the tense anti-gravity sequence, using multiple fluid simulations.
We provided a series of acid simulations to the animation department to time and place for client approval. These meshes were then published back, along with the required data, which FX used as a starting point to drive multiple fluid simulations, allowing us to maintain the visually approved look, while also adding in complex simulation dynamics.
Arcadian.
Arcadian follows a father and his 2 sons facing an alien threat at the end of the world. Director Benjamin Brewer wanted an ambitious CGI monster, and in spite of the film's small budget, was able to pull it off with collaboration and creativity. He designed the film's central monster himself, and brought it to life with the help of a team led by VFX supervisor Ben Burrell and his brother, a sculptor at Mondo.
So it's actually kind of fun because it's this monster is attacking these two fake brothers that was designed by two real brothers.
The monster's appearance and physiology changes throughout the film to keep the characters and the audience on their toes. The result is a uniquely memorable, frightening, and original creature.
The First Omen.
This Omen prequel gives audiences a look at Damien's demonic father, a jackal that preys on young women at the behest of powerful forces in the Catholic Church. The jackal stays mostly obscured in darkness, only showing itself a little bit at a time. That didn't stop VFX supervisors James Cooper and Ben King from creating a fully detailed model anyway. They believed this would add realism and make the monster feel complete, even if the audience was only seeing a claw or its mouth. Effects company Hearn Hill also digitally enhanced most of the film's prosthetic work, such as Father Harris's head wound in the opening scene, as well as Paolo being cut in half by a truck. The team worked on background and environmental effects, creating crowds, fire simulations, and set extensions to de-modernize Rome and make it truly feel like the 1970s.
Infested.
When making a movie about killer spiders, the most important element that has to work is the spiders themselves. Sebastian Vanicek, director of this claustrophobic creature feature, knew that their CGI spiders had to seem just as real as the 200 actual spiders on set. The VFX team studied the real spiders to capture the unpredictable
I have
way
some friends
your
that would
actors
hate
move.
I
this.
had the CGI team with me all the time, so we talked a lot when we were shooting the real spiders and studied them really, really closely, their legs, how they behave, why they go here, why they go there, how they move.
This combination of the practical and digital, as well as the strategic use of darkness to partially obscure the spider's movements, made the CGI appear skin-crawlingly realistic, even with the film's limited budget.
A Quiet Place, Day One.
For this Quiet Place prequel, director Michael Charnosky wanted to approach the alien invaders in a unique and unexpected way. ILM visual effects supervisor Malcolm Humphreys and animation supervisor Michael Lum developed the creatures' movements for the new urban setting of New York City, having them behave in ways not previously seen, like scrambling up skyscrapers. In Day One, the creatures move faster and appear in greater numbers, acting as a stampede rather than individual predators. But the effects artists didn't use a crowd system. Each of the creatures in the film is hand-animated and handcrafted.
It takes a lot of imagination on everyone's part, but it's kind of fun, too, to also have talented people from ILM standing there being like, yeah, that's awesome, we'll make it look really cool.
ILM also filled in New York
like
City
don't
around
underestimate
the UK
how
backlot where
like
Day One was filmed, digitally extending streets, adding heights to buildings,
visual
and
effects
filling in
and
backgrounds.
stuff like
They even created the memorable
even
Manhattan
CGI
Bridge
and
destruction,
stuff.
seen by Sam from the rooftop in Chinatown.
VHS Beyond.
After his work as a VFX artist on previous VHS films, Justin Martinez was invited back to direct his own segment in the anthology series' newest entry. He leaned into his special effects background and made the craziest concept he could come up with. The result was Live and Let Dive, a skydiving trip turned plane crash and alien invasion. Martinez combined practical footage of real skydiving with CGI sequences that culminated in the appearance of an alien. Knowing the alien would be shown in broad daylight, he spent 2 months designing the model all the way down to its pores.
Knowing that I was going to be judged by horror fans myself as well, I want that to look practical.
The result is an intense and memorable creature design that holds its own among the franchise's pantheon of practical monsters.
And the prime rib for best digital effects goes to, drumroll Benny, Alien Romulus.
That's what I
Congratulations
figured.
to the crew of Alien Romulus for your mind-blowing and chest-bursting effects work.
Congratulations to the effects artists of Alien Romulus. This film is such a perfect demonstration of why digital and practical effects should be working together and not against each other.
Speaking of which, whether it's a crazy kill or an inhuman creature, practical effects have allowed horror movies to create the stuff of dreams and nightmares. But while it's an old school industry, effects artists are continually pushing boundaries and reaching new heights with their work.
Our nominees in this category range from big budget blockbusters using cutting edge technology to scrappy indie efforts relying on creative problem solving. But all of them were powered by a love for the practical.
Thanks, James and Chelsea. The horror genre has always had a long history of practical effects, from black and white movie monsters to the cutting-edge technology of today. This year's nominees made us feel a lot of things: whimsy and wonder, fear and disgust. But most importantly, they all added to that history with their incredible work. The nominees for Best
isn't
Practical
that
Effects
the
Alien
kid
Romulus.
from Megan?
For this latest entry in the Alien franchise, director Fede Alvarez used a variety of practical effects for the film's spaceships, weapons, and creatures. Ian Hunter, who worked on Alien Resurrection, headed the team that built miniatures for the space probe and the spacecraft Corbelan 4. Weta Workshop built various facehuggers, including fully animatronic and remote-controlled versions, as well as stunt-safe models that could be thrown across the room. For one effect, Tippett Studio used stop-motion animation to create the reanimated rat seen in the ship's archived research footage. For Romulus's chest burster, Alvarez tasked Alec Gillis of Studio Gillis with creating a new design based on human birth. And for the full-grown xenomorph, Legacy Effects helped develop a new dangerous appearance.
He wanted it to feel as if a character ran their hand against it, much like a shark's skin, they would be cut.
It included translucent panels in the arms and legs, which light could shine through for a unique insect-like look. Legacy Effects also worked on the Offspring, a horrific human xenomorph hybrid. They sculpted silicone pieces that were glued directly to the skin of Robert Bobrowski, the 7-foot-tall college basketball player cast in the role.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
From the beginning of this sequel's production, director Tim Burton wanted everything practical that was possible, honoring the original's legacy.
The unique aspect of this film, more than any film that I've worked on, I would say in the last decade, is that nearly everything that I know of that was written in the script has been produced as a practical effect and has been executed on the set as a practical effect as well.
This included an afterlife crawling with over 70 characters, not including background players, and the grossly memorable baby Beetlejuice. For this mini ghost with the most, the effects department cut up a baby doll and fitted it with new pieces. It became a rod puppet that was operated by 3 puppeteers on set. The film also features stop-motion animation during a plane crash turned shark attack, which took around 6 months to complete.
In a Violent Nature.
As an effects artist in his own right, filmmaker Chris Nash pushed to create unique set pieces for In a Violent Nature, his tribute to slashers. He succeeded many times over, including with one kill so unique it's nominated in its own category. Nash pitched the project to longtime friend Steven Kostanski while the two worked on effects for the Prime Rib-nominated Psycho Gorman.
You get really intelligent, creative, practical effects guys who've seen everything. They're gonna think of something fresh.
Kostanski sculpted several iterations of Johnny's face and created life casts of all the actors. Thanks to Nash's careful storyboarding, they were able to build their effects efficiently based on what would be in frame. The film's log splitter kill was particularly difficult, as they only had one body and one take to capture the entire 3-minute-long dismembering.
The Substance.
For her flesh-focused film, writer-director Coralie Fargeat
I haven't
turned
seen
to
this
makeup
movie, but I've
effects
seen the
designer
kill count.
Pierre-Olivier Persson to create the various practical mutations of
I need to
main
watch
character Elizabeth Sparkle.
I thought that half of it would be VFX, and or a mix of techniques, and she was like, no, I want really flesh and blood to be real.
The first transformation was the birth of Sue from Elizabeth's back. It used a sliced open silicone dummy that was so realistic, it was stitched up on camera with needle and thread. Sue herself was outfitted with prosthetic breasts to sell her inhuman perfection. Another transformation was dubbed the Golem and required actress Demi Moore to sit through 7 hours of prosthetic makeup. The final monstrous form, suitably nicknamed Monstro, required actress Margaret Qualley to don a full-body foam latex suit inspired by the Elephant Man. The character meets an explosive end with a practical effect that blasted blood everywhere.
Stop motion.
For his feature debut, stop-motion animator Robert Morgan wanted to depict the obsessive experience he had creating his short film Bobby Yeah.
I got pneumonia while I was making it because I kind of was pushing myself too hard and making myself sick.
On top of the film's various moments of gore, makeup effects
Ooh.
artist Dan Martin also created the cast of puppets used by the film's main character, Ella. To make the puppets look appropriately grimy without degrading the materials, the effects team created fake dirt by putting brown and black silicone glass through a meat grinder. After the initial shoot, Morgan spent 6 weeks animating the puppets, which were then composited onto the live-action footage. The film's frightening villain, the Ash Man, was also built as a full creature suit, worn and performed by actor James Swanton, who also appeared as the Jackal in The First Omen.
Terrifier 3.
Art the Clown's latest gore fest came with a higher budget than its predecessors, allowing series creator Damien Leone to expand his effects department. Providing much of the blood and bits this time was Oscar-nominated effects artist Christian Tinsley and his team at Tinsley Studio.
Finding out the right place to, put these wires and how you get the blood to spray in a certain way, and, these brilliant artists who come in and paint it to make it look like flesh. I mean, it's not just, hey, let's just kill somebody. There's a lot more going on with these scenes to appreciate and admire.
Tinsley created a digital sculpt and mold of Art's head for the horrific birth scene, and crafted the prosthetics and fake body parts needed to pull off the ambitious shower kill. He also applied the makeup for Victoria's Pale Girl transformation, and sculpted a new mask that better fit David Howard Thornton, allowing him more range of motion in his face. Jason Baker of Colosseum Studios designed Art's weapons, including the Frankensaw, and created the masks for a memorable dream sequence featuring a moving Holy Mary statue. For the film's many gory kills, production went through multiple 55-gallon drums of fake blood.
And the prime rib for the best practical effects goes to... The Substance! Congratulations to the crew of
Really?
The Substance. Your work made this film sparkle.
The Substance is gonna
Thank
get
you,
other
David,
stuff.
for
I think
this
I
award.
personally would have
I'm
given
really
it a
thankful.
Beetlejuice.
This is great. I love the name,
Personally.
by the way. It sounds like something out of a Clive Barker novel. And even though I'm a vegetarian, I love it. And can't wait to get my rib. I'm really happy to see practical effects coming back to life. I felt really lucky I was the prosthetics and makeup effects designer on The Substance, and hopefully we'll see more crazy projects like that using that kind of effects in the future. Thanks again and enjoy the show.
Congratulations to the team behind The Substance. The movie's effects are not only incredible, but so integral to the storytelling. They truly elevate the entire film.
Back in 2023, we had the privilege of having modern horror master Mike Flanagan as a presenter. While this upcoming Stephen King adaptation isn't as frightening as his usual fare, these two legends coming together again is sure to be as memorable as always. This is The Life of Chuck.
Oh.
When you look up at the night sky, it can tell you stuff about your future.
Is that Mark Hamill?
It won't lie to you. It's pure that way.
That's the dude that plays
You might see a lot more than you wanted. But if you have heart,
it is
you
Mark
have
Hamill.
hope. And you have heart in you.
The world, Chuck. Everything you've ever loved. Everything you see. Every year that you live, that world will get bigger and brighter.
Oh, Matthew Lillard.
And more detailed and complex. You fill the whole thing. It'll be a
Oh, I might go see this.
Isn't that wonderful?
While we love being scared from the safety of our theater seats, at the beginning of this year, residents of Los Angeles experienced the very real fear of losing their livelihoods. Thousands of people, including members of our own team, were forced to evacuate as various wildfires burned more than 40,000 acres of the city. Our hearts go out to everyone affected by this tragedy. We want to take a moment to thank the members of LA's fire department and first responders whose tireless efforts helped save homes and lives. And in the face of apathy, your work and care, well, it helped bring our city together. And for that, we are incredibly grateful.
Thanks, Zoran, and thank you to everyone who gave their time, effort, and resources to helping victims recover, including the more than 1,000 incarcerated firefighters. Next up, we're excited to recognize a new category
We did
for
a
the horror
charity
awards
stream.
this year.
In the visual medium of
I need
film,
to do another
production
one
designers
very
are
soon.
responsible for so much of what we see on screen. From the costumes the actors wear, to the sets they stand on, to the props they use in scenes, production designers are often in charge of organizing entire worlds for a film.
It's a job that goes beyond blending into the background. It is the background and the backbone of any horror film that wants to immerse you in the lives of its characters. Presenting this award is an actor who's traveled to all corners of the world thanks to the work of production designers. You might know him as an Antarctic mechanic, a Hollywood rancher, or your only friend in the face of an alien invasion. It's Keith David.
Thanks, James and Chelsea. While actors bring a movie's characters to life, it's the talented production designers who conceive and construct the world in which those characters live. Whether it's transforming an existing location or creating one from scratch, a great production designer can achieve the impossible, like making a soundstage in LA feel like a research base in Antarctica. This year's nominees took us from outer space to the afterlife, from the shiny artifice of modern Los Angeles to the rat-infested streets of 19th century Germany. The nominees for Best Production Design are Alien Romulus.
Alien Romulus is set between the events of Alien and Aliens, so production designer
Wow, really? I
Damon
didn't even
Marshall
know
wanted
that.
to honor designer H.R. Giger and his work on the original film. He also took design inspiration from the 2014 video game Alien Isolation, as well as heavy-lift machinery like bulldozers and aerial cranes. Marshall worked with his design team and director Fede Alvarez to give the film's set a mix of grime and beauty, as seen in the Remus and Romulus sides of the central ship.
We always felt like the Remus was maybe like an older an older model of the ship, and then the Romulus was a newer version. And so the shape language, it's maybe a little bit more eclectic and antiquated on the Remus side, and maybe slightly more slick and modern on the Romulus side.
Marshall faced problems like space limitations and difficulty shooting in a working power plant, but he met them with a clear vision and a willingness to create a vivid sci-fi setting.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
It's been more than 30 years since the original Beetlejuice, but production designer Mark Scruton wanted to maintain continuity in this sequel. He built a reference book of screen grabs from the first movie to ensure consistency down to the smallest detail. The afterlife in both Beetlejuice movies is full of distorted visuals, like a checkerboard floor that clashes with the set's perspective for a disorienting effect.
The key thing to the afterlife compared to the real-world environments was that everything was distorted and warped. Whether that was the furniture, whether that was the walls, it had to discombobulate you in that environment.
To recreate the afterlife waiting room, they measured the size of set pieces and screen grabs and compared the actors to ensure that the new set had the same proportions. Since the original house they shot in no longer exists,
production rebuilt it from scratch atop the same hill in East Corinth, Vermont.
They also didn't have access to the original graveyard model, so an art director from the UK painstakingly recreated it. The entire production was an exercise in intense focus and attention to detail, and all in all, the design team created a whopping total of 87 sets for the film.
Heretic.
Heretic sees a pair of Mormon missionaries trapped in a house with Mr. Reed, a villain who gradually goes from Mormon-friendly to sinister and threatening. Directors Scott Beck and Brian Woods wanted Mr. Reed's home to reflect this gradual shift and worked with production designer Phil Messina to achieve it.
I started thinking of the progression of the spaces in step with the tone. And as they go deeper into the house, the story gets more harrowing.
Though it starts with an ordinary living room filled with warm colors and lighting, each room gets progressively colder and stranger. Messina maintained this through line with every element of the design, from Reed's model of his own house to the clocks and the bamboo fountain dripping water in the library, all of which tied in with the sound design to gradually increase the film's tension. Just as the characters don't know what lies beyond each door, the filmmakers wanted the audience in a constant state of suspense as the characters progress deeper into the house.
Lisa Frankenstein.
For this 80s set horror comedy, production designer Mark Worthington leaned into the over-the-top design tropes of the decade, using classic colors like pink and
I need to watch
seafoam
this.
green. While the interior of the main house was built on a stage, they managed to find a house for the exterior that perfectly suited the rest of the film's look.
So sometimes you have to be quite flexible. There was a different house we were going to use first, but they didn't, their HOA wouldn't let us film there at very last minute, so we very kind of quickly had to put together finding a new house, and the pink one is what we wound up with.
Worthington worked to create contrast between Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, where Lisa feels at home, and the hostile world of her stepmother's house. Janet's home was an ode to the worst in 80s design, while the cemetery was inspired by the 1800s and its romantic poets like Lord Byron. The contrast between the two served to highlight Lisa's status as an outsider in the everyday world around her.
Nosferatu.
Production designer Craig Lathrop described Robert Eggers' take on Nosferatu as a production designer's dream.
I need to watch
create the world
this
of this
and the
Gothic horror
original
tale, Lathrop and his
Nosferatu.
team built over 60
The
sets
oldest
over the
movie I'd
course of
probably
9
ever
months on
watched.
location in Prague, aiming for as much historical accuracy as possible. These sets included the houses, the monastery and its frescoes, the chapel full of rats, and Count Orlok's terrifying castle.
A lot of conversations when we were trying to find a castle, and the fact that we couldn't find one that was in the right amount of disrepair.
They wanted the castle to feel like it had been abandoned for a long time. For the exterior, they used Corvin Castle in Romania, where Vlad the Impaler was supposedly once imprisoned. The castle's interior was built by Lathrop from scratch and designed to look as decayed as its owner. Terracotta tiles were placed on a sand floor to make it appropriately uneven, and the space was then filled with columns and oppressive stone walls. Lathrop preferred to use Eggers' vision and research as inspiration, rather than referencing the original film, in order to create a new take on the classic story.
The Substance.
Coralie Farja worked with production designer Stanislas Redele to create an environment full of symbolic meaning rather than realism. Elizabeth's penthouse has long winding hallways and little decor, with a mix of old-fashioned and
I don't
futuristic
think
designs.
the
bathroom,
production
where
was
multiple
great with
transformations take place, is stark and white, reminiscent of a laboratory. The Los Angeles skyline seen through the penthouse window was a multi-story printed backdrop rather than an LED or green screen.
I didn't want to shoot on green screen because it was going to be like 70 days in front of a green screen, which is hell.
Every set was built with meaning behind it, the end of it always in sight. And because of its minimalistic design, the substance seems timeless and universal.
And the prime rib for best production design goes to Nosferatu. Congratulations,
I feel like that's-
Nosferatu,
I feel like
for creating
that's
a world
the-
as dark and decrepit as its vampiric villain.
Congratulations to the team
Dude,
of
I love Keith David's
Nosferatu.
voice.
This level of period design is usually only reserved for big budget dramas. It's super weird and exciting to see it applied to the horror genre.
Our next category is one that's incredibly important to us. We've been lucky enough to build a whole brand, company, and livelihood off the backs of awesome movie kills, so it's always special to highlight some of our favorites. This is your last chance to back out of spoilers for the movies below, because we are about to reveal some seriously sick moments from them.
Presenting this category is a screenwriter who's made more than a few contributions to the art of on-screen death. He's penned some of the best kills of the modern slasher era, many of which we've had the pleasure of covering on this channel. It's my pleasure to introduce Michael Kennedy.
This is what I look like without makeup on. Actually, this is what I look like without makeup on. Thanks, James and Chelsea. You know, there are a lot of ingredients that go into cooking up a good kill. You need a unique method, a striking visual, maybe a fucked up writer, director or two. But most importantly, you need the perfect victim to tie it all together. The nominees tonight, well, they run the gambit of well-deserved deaths you can cheer for, and some that'll just make you squirm in your seat. The nominees for Best Kill are Luther and Azrael.
In Azrael's post-apocalyptic setting, humans are hunted by the Burned Ones, vicious creatures drawn to the scent of human blood. When one of his traps goes wrong, cultist Luther learns firsthand just how brutal these monsters can be.
Oh, dang.
As a member of a cult that surgically removes their vocal cords, Luther is unable to even scream, making the sequence eerily silent except for the sounds of the monsters feasting.
Aurora in A Violent Nature.
Filmmaker Chris Nash
I need to
wanted
watch
to
this
create
movie.
a unique kill using an unfamiliar weapon, antique firefighting drag hooks.
We always want to challenge ourselves and do things that we haven't really seen or done before.
The result is the now infamous yoga kill.
That's a pretty unique one.
To achieve the kill, prosthetic FX lead Steven Kostanski built 3 50-pound silicone dummies of actress Charlotte Crean, each able to bend at different stages of contortion.
John Labatt and Maxine.
Sleazy private eye John Labatt meets a messy end when he's trapped inside his
Yeah,
car
that-
and
that
compacted
kill
at a
was-
junkyard. Kevin Bacon
Meh.
gives a memorable performance as his character is reduced to a puddle of blood.
Give us a day on daily mission. Give us our trespasses. Give those trespasses. And deliver us from evil.
Bacon performed the scene in an actual car crusher and ended up scaring co-star Giancarlo Esposito.
I kept worrying about Kevin, man. I was like, Jesus, is that thing gonna fall on his head?
To ensure Bacon's safety, the car was drained of its fluids. For the final moments of the crush, the actor was swapped out with a life cast dummy created by Fractured Effects.
Lewis and Smile 2.
Drug dealer Lewis passes on a demonic curse to pop star Sky Riley, and does so with some weight plates and a smile.
Thanks. That was a memorable kill. Dog's barking.
Filmmaker Parker Finn knew he needed to one-up Laura's inciting death from the first film, so he went in the opposite direction. Instead of a sharp weapon, he used something blunt and brutal.
When he is hitting himself with that, he sort of creates this game of peekaboo where every time he hits himself, we have to wait to see how bad the damage is.
Prosthetic makeup artist Jeremy Sellenfriend created progressively gorier looks for each hit, based on references pulled from MMA fights. The final stage used digital touch-ups to cave in Lewis's nose, and a puppeteer to peel back a loose flap of flesh.
Cole in Terrifier 3.
College kid Cole makes an age-old slasher misstep and gets busy with his girlfriend in the shower. That leads to a
this kill
chainsaw
was
churning which splits him open from bottom to top.
Tense.
Filmmaker Damien Leone wanted to pay homage to Psycho with an ultra-violent Terrifier twist.
And now, since no one's going to let me remake Psycho, I'll just say, well, I'll make my own shower kill scene, and I'll make it as crazy as possible.
Instead of looking towards Leatherface, Leone used Scarface's chainsaw torture scene as inspiration. According to prosthetics designer Christian Tinsley, this arm-ripping, leg-bending, full-body bisection used 20 gallons of fake blood.
Arnab in VHS Beyond.
Paparazzo Arnab crashes a Bollywood set for exclusive footage of Tara, a famous performer who turns out to be a killer robot.
Obviously, the guy is screaming, but she doesn't care at that moment.
and she doesn't probably know how it feels. She's just thinking in a, or this machine is thinking in a very different way.
Her rampage culminates in a face-off with Arnab, literally, as she dismembers and defaces the photographer so she can wear his skin as her own.
Ooh, that's a brutal.
Do you want a selfie?
To achieve this kill, the team at If SFX
That wasn't
Artmaker
disturbing at
created
all.
a simple face cover that was pulled off, revealing the detailed prosthetic underneath. Slime and fake blood completed the unsettling effect.
So let's see who the prime rib for best kill goes to. Aurora in A Violent Nature. I mean, right.
I'm not
Congrats
surprised
to the
that
cast,
that was the
crew,
kill
and
that
everyone
won.
involved in A Violent Nature for putting Johnny on the map with an all-timer.
Hello, Dead Meat Awards. We'd like to thank you so much for giving the Yoga Kill the Best Kill of the Year award. It means so much to us. When we came up with the idea for the Yoga Kill, we thought it'd be fun. We wanted to do something memorable, but ideas are just ideas until people bring them to life. So with that, we'd really like to give our endless thanks to our prosthetics crew, our special effects crew, and our makeup crew. That's Steve Kostansky, Mike Hamilton, Pat Baxter, Audrey Barrett, Fletcher Barrett, and Summer Mellon. And of course, endless thanks goes to our two actors, Charlotte Cregan and Rye Barrett, our Johnny. Thanks again so much for this award. It means the world to us. Have a great day. No, don't even say have a great day. Let's just end it there. Fuck.
Congratulations to the sick minds behind In a Violent Nature. When you count kills for a living, you don't often see anything new, but this brutal end was truly one of a kind.
While horror fans love to watch a great character death, it's nothing without a good killer dishing it out. For decades, horror films have hosted some of cinema's most iconic bad guys and girls. And they come in all sorts of flavors, from sympathetic to twisted to unstoppable murder machines.
A good villain has the chance to become the face of the whole genre. Just look at Jason's hockey mask or Leatherface's chainsaw. Our nominees this year add their own iconography, with new takes on old foes, returning champions, and two villains we never even saw until their movies came out.
To present the award for Best Villain, we have two actresses behind a previous Prime Rib winner. Their combined talents built a baddie who's already a bona fide icon and is returning to our screens this year in Megan 2.0. Please join us in welcoming Amy Donald and Jenna Davis.
Thank you, James and Chelsea. Evil comes in all different shapes and sizes. Jenna, you're doing it again.
Oh, sorry.
Evil comes in all different shapes and sizes, especially if you're in a horror film. But the very best of horror villains don't just elevate the movies they are in.
They transcend the screen and keep scaring us long after the credits roll. The nominees for
That
Best Villain
is weird
are
hearing Megan's
Abigail
voice
from
actor
Abigail.
talk normal and
Alicia
not
Weir was
robotic.
only 13 years old when she was
Oh,
cast
yeah, I
as
forgot
Abigail,
about
a
Abigail
ballerina
again.
vampire who's much
Such a
older
good
than
horror
she
movie.
appears. As the titular monster, the movie revolves around her performance. Filmmakers Radio Silence knew Weir was up for the challenge in spite of her age and how different she is from the character.
When she transformed into the monster during that audition, she did it with a level of commitment and confidence that genuinely shook us. And it also didn't feel memorized or over-prepared. It just felt like she understood that there was a playfulness that that character would have to have.
Weir deftly handles every aspect of the character. Her initial portrayal as a scared kidnapping victim, her knowing and threatening demeanor when her true form is revealed, and the sadistic joy she has while on the hunt, taking out a bumbling band of criminals she so clearly sees as beneath her. Weir's dance background also influenced the character's development, turning her taste for ballet from a small background detail to a fundamental piece of her story.
You're really good at pretending to be a little girl.
Thank you. I've had a few centuries of experience. Art the Clown from Terrifier 3.
It's
Art
hard
the
to
Clown
beat
brings
Art,
holiday fear to town in the third Terrifier,
but
which
I
features
don't
some
think
of
he's
the
gonna
series'
win the
most
award.
extreme scenes yet. David Howard Thornton reprises his role as the silent
He
killer
does a
clown,
really-
who
David
won
Howard
the Prime
Thornton does
Rib
a
for
really
Best
good
Villain
job
2
of
years
playing
ago for
Art.
Terrifier 2. He once again brings a theatrical physicality and wicked playfulness to Art's latest killing spree. It's an endearing performance despite the malice, and filmmaker Damien Leone didn't want the character to become too cute and cuddly. To keep fans from getting too comfortable with Art, Leone filming included scenes of him killing kids and torturing characters who had been nice to him. Thornton has seen his fair share of gore as the killer clown, but one kill in Terrifier 3 was almost too much, even for him. It involved force-feeding someone a live rat.
What it was is, in that scene, is I don't handle puke very well. I've never liked it. Don't like it.
The scene was originally scripted to be even more extreme, but was cut down to avoid making Thornton vomit on set. He managed to stay in character and avoid ruining his makeup as he brought to life yet another envelope-pushing kill.
Hey, fella, what's in the bag?
What?
Count Olak from Nosferatu.
Writer-director Robert Eggers began conceiving his take on the oldest surviving vampire film almost 10 years ago. Bill Skarsgård was involved from the start. Originally, he was cast in the role of protagonist Thomas Hutter before the project fell apart. When Nosferatu rose from the dead, Skarsgård went from hero to villain and was cast as the terrifying Count Orlok. Eggers strived for historical accuracy with Orlok's design, styling him like how a 16th century Romanian nobleman would have really looked, which, yes, includes that magnificent mustache. Eggers rejected the rodent-like appearance of 1922's Orlok, instead opting for a Count who resembled a monstrous walking corpse. David White did the prosthetics and design, which were applied by makeup artist Stuart Richards. Skarsgård's transformation makes him unrecognizable in both appearance and voice. In fact, he worked with an Icelandic opera singer, training himself to speak in a voice that was as low and resonant as possible.
Leave there your conveniences.
You can tell
Set
that's
out the deeds
although
and sit.
Or do you not wish to wait till morning?
I wish you to do as I request.
Johnny from In a Violent Nature.
In a Violent Nature makes its audience experience a slasher from the killer's point of view. Johnny is an undead killer inspired by Jason Voorhees, with a few substitutions. Instead of mommy issues, he's given a background centered around his father, and instead of a hockey mask, he wears a turn-of-the-century leather firefighting mask. During the original production, several actors played the character due to various reasons, including medical issues. When the movie wound up being reshot from scratch, Toronto-based actor Ry Barrett took over the role. Barrett brings an intense focus and care to Johnny, using his pace and movement to communicate with the audience without ever speaking a word. The costume helped him maintain a consistent way of moving and allowed him to get into character.
I find that the costume kind of designates how Johnny is and how he moves a bit too. So it's kind of, once you get back into that costume, you immediately remember all those the little rules that you have set in place.
Barrett worked with writer-director Chris Nash to inject Johnny's every move with a sense of menace. Everything from his walking pace to the weight of his steps were given purposeful consideration. It makes the character thrilling to watch, whether he's hacking up teens or simply walking through the woods.
Longlegs from Longlegs.
Nicolas Cage found the experience of playing a satanic serial killer to be surprisingly freeing.
I found it very liberating to play a character that looked and sounded nothing like me. It allowed me to go to certain places I wouldn't have been comfortable going looking as myself.
For the character's nightmarish look, makeup department head Felix Fox was inspired by the character's glam rocker past, as well as the series Botched, which highlights the effects of poorly done plastic surgery. Silicone prosthetic pieces were applied to give Cage's skin a stretched, puffy appearance. White powder makeup
I couldn't
was then
even
applied
tell that
over
was
the
Nicolas
entire
Cage.
face. The effect had to hold up under any condition, since he's not just seen in the dark, but also outside during daylight and under harsh indoor lighting. It was important to filmmaker Oz Perkins that Longlegs be more human than monstrous. He insisted there be a sadness to the character, and Nicolas Cage agreed. Cage was inspired by Lon Chaney's performances as monsters who were as tragic as they were scary, such as the Phantom of the Opera. Cage also based the role on his own mother, whose voice he said he could hear in his head as he worked on the character. Longlegs is an eerie, surreal counterpart to the intense and focused Detective Harker, and their final face-off.
I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the channel, but I'm not a big Nicolas Cage fan.
Make me go now, and I have to come back, not once, not twice, but as many times as I like.
front room.
In this psychological horror film, Katherine Hunter plays the ultimate nightmare mother-in-law to Brandy Norwood's Belinda. At first, Solange seems like an ordinary frail old woman, but as she takes over Belinda's home, her manipulative cruelty and religious extremism rise to the surface. Hunter worked with a dialect coach for months to perfect Solange's distinct southern accent.
I was here first, and I seen it. I seen the clam. My cousin was a grand dragon.
Ooh, see, Norman, this is my point. This is the clan. She is the fucking clan, Norman.
And you're an uppity Yankee. Uppity. I guess I am a racist.
She also developed a specific walk that utilized Solange's two canes as an extension of herself. She wanted Solange's movements to feel menacing and reminiscent of a spider. Hunter also had prosthetics applied to transform her into Solange, and used her time in the makeup chair to meditate on the wicked old woman's inner life.
It was good time to kind of think, oh, this old woman, she's a so-called horror, but she also has her own loneliness. She's lost a husband, she's lost a child, so it's actually fantastic thinking time about the character.
And the prime rib for best villain goes to
Longlegs. Congratulations to Longlegs for a terrifying and
What?
unworthy title of a role.
Yo, to all my
I
friends
didn't
at
see
Dead
the
Meat,
movie,
thank you
but
for
that-
bestowing
at
upon
least
me this most
know.
prestigious award of
It could be
Best
my
Villain
bias,
of
like
the
I'm not a
Year.
big Nicolas
It's
Cage
the
guy.
award that I wanted. It was the award that I was after, that I intended to reap for myself. Everybody knows I'm a villain guy. I'm a bad guy. My favorite characters are always the villains, and when we made Longlegs, we set out to make an iconic villain, and then next thing I know, I turn around and everybody's dressed up like him for Halloween and making TikToks, and things got weird, and well, I'm grateful for your approval and for your recognition. It means a lot to me, and great. See you at the movies.
Congratulations to Longlegs for winning Best Villain of 2024. When a movie's whole marketing campaign can be based off just their voice, you know you've got a special kind of evil on your hands.
With the subjective nature of art, it feels irresponsible to pick the so-called best without input from others. So, just like last year, James, Chelsea, and myself were joined by a panel of industry experts and horror lovers to help with voting. Each panelist was given 1 vote per category to determine the prime rib winners. Our panelists this year included Perry Nemiroff, a co-host and senior producer at Collider; Zach Morris, aka CZ's World, a YouTuber and filmmaker; Greg Alba, co-host and creator of The Real Rejects; Megan Cruz, aka J Stoobs, a content creator and film critic; Rebecca McHenry, a filmmaker, academic, and journalist; Zena Dixon, who runs the YouTube channel Real Queen of Horror; Joe Aragon, aka Cinema Joe, co-host and creator of the House of Cinema podcast; our friend Chauncey K. Robinson, an award-winning journalist and creator of Production Tales from Hell; and finally, Chris Stuckman, a YouTuber, film critic, and writer-director of the upcoming horror movie, Shelby Oaks. A huge thank you to all our esteemed panelists
I know
for your
CC's World, and I
time
know
and your knowledge.
Chris Stuckman. I
Now,
didn't know any of those
back
other
to you,
people,
James and
but
Chelsea.
Thanks, Soren. While not everyone in a horror movie can be the final girl, that doesn't mean they don't have an important role to play. In fact, more so than any other genre, the supporting performances in a horror film also tend to be the most memorable.
Our nominees this year all embody that spirit, enriching the themes of their stories and the fictional worlds they inhabit. While our protagonists aren't always better off for meeting them, the movies they appear in certainly are.
Presenting this award is an actress who knows what it means to be a killer supporting character. Her prime rib winning performance in 2023's Evil Dead Rise was the beating heart of that film, even long after that heart stopped beating. Please join us in welcoming the extremely talented Alyssa Sutherland.
Thanks, James and Chelsea. Sometimes the supporting cast in a horror movie are just corpses waiting to happen. But the best films know that to become truly great, the characters surrounding the center have to be captivating as well. Whether they're loyal loved ones, dangerous monsters, or occasionally, someone who's both. The nominees for Best Performer in a Supporting Role are Alicia Witt as Ruth Harker in Longlegs,
From the moment she read the script for Longlegs, Alicia Witt knew Ruth Harker was exactly the kind of complicated character she'd been longing to play. She said playing the mother with a dark secret was a spiritual and cathartic experience.
I can hardly take credit for whatever she was. It was more just knowing her and realizing she was inside of me and letting her out.
Her connection to the character of Ruth and the trust she placed in director Oz Perkins allowed her to let loose and deliver a show-stopping performance as a mother willing to do anything to protect her daughter, no matter the cost.
I'm not a child anymore, Mom.
You're not a child because you were allowed to grow up.
Allowed?
This is a cruel world. Especially for the little things. Not all of them are allowed
Okay,
to
that
live.
is really good acting, though. I had to give it.
Alicia Weir as Abigail in
Okay.
Abigail.
I hope.
After making her film debut in Netflix's Matilda the
Oh, I didn't
Musical,
even
Irish
realize
actress
that was
Alicia
her.
Weir was
That was
excited
her.
to
I
try
didn't
out the
realize
horror
that.
genre.
I've watched
Weir
both of
threw
these movies and I
herself into
didn't
the
realize
character of
that.
Abigail, doing her own stunts and augmenting her existing dance skills by learning ballet, all to give a cohesive performance.
I hope
We were
this
trying
one gets
to,
the award.
incorporate dance into Abigail's character. So no matter what she was doing, she was always doing it in a balletic form. She was leaping, she was pirouetting everywhere she went.
Weir also taught herself an American accent without a dialect coach. With an end result so
Wow.
convincing, many of her castmates were shocked to learn she was Irish only after filming had wrapped. Her dedication comes together in a memorable mix of playfulness and menace.
Fucking bitch! I'll kill you, fucking fuck! I'll rip your fucking heads off and gorge myself on your blood!
David Johnson as Andy in Alien Romulus.
TV and indie movie actor David Johnson never expected to wind up in a big-budget blockbuster like Alien Romulus. But despite the larger scale, Johnson approached playing synthetic human Andy with the same authenticity as his other projects.
You can't play synthetic. You can't, no one knows what that actually is, but you do know what it feels like to be an outsider. You do know what it feels like to be someone who's not really understood.
When Andy's reprogrammed partway through the film, Johnson also got a chance to create a cold, calculating character more in line with previous android antagonists like Ash and David. His performance reflects the two ways Johnson saw the film, both as a sci-fi horror epic and a family drama rooted in Andy's sibling relationship with protagonist Rain.
I have just one directive. To do what's best for Rain. Your dad wrote it.
Yeah. Gotten too many dad jokes.
I'm happy to help.
Jack Haven as Maddie in I Saw the TV Glow.
Jack Haven was looking for something smart when they first came across the script for I Saw the TV Glow. They were drawn by the chance to work on a film that reflected the uncertainty and confusion of developing one's own gender identity.
I was thrilled by the parts that didn't make sense because I'm always so tired of scripts that try to make sense out of fear and embarrassment.
On set, Haven worked closely with co-star Justice Smith to develop the relationship between Maddie and Owen, and what that connection brings out in each character. The highlight of Haven's heart-wrenching performance is a monologue that zeroes in on the horror of feeling like you don't belong in the world around you.
I screamed as loud as I could for help. I apologized for the whole thing. And I begged God for someone to come along and save me. I tried and tried to claw my way out. But that burnout guy had packed the dirt in too tight. Just like I'd asked him to do.
James McAvoy as Paddy in Speak No Evil.
When director James
did a really
Watkins
good
set out
job.
to remake Denmark's Speak No Evil, he knew James McAvoy was the actor he wanted for his new antagonist, the brutal serial killer Paddy. McAvoy drew from figures like Andrew Tate to inform the family man's twisted brand of masculinity and his desire to pass it on to the children he kidnaps.
If True North is the kind of the touchstone for his moral compass, or it should be, it's just you can't find it anywhere. He's just got his own moral code. It's not
Sorry
the
for
same as
any
anybody
background.
else's.
McAvoy took up weightlifting to build up
anyone
Paddy's
talking or a
imposing
nephew
figure.
screaming
His
or
physically
anything.
intimidating presence is matched with a gleeful sadism that makes Paddy a truly terrifying figure.
You fucking people. We're gas-free Teslas. You're line coat tuna. Giving yourself a gold star because you made friends with a couple with a disabled kid. Makes me fucking sick.
Margaret Qualley as Sue in The Substance.
Margaret Qualley is no stranger to
Oh,
challenging
that might-
material,
that
but she
might-
had her work cut out for her when it came to playing Sue, the youthful other half of Demi Moore's Elizabeth Sparkle. Qualley underwent intense physical training to achieve Sue's idealized body, but navigating the film's subject matter still took a mental and emotional toll.
I can be pretty nice to myself, but when the idea is to play quote unquote perfect, it can be really hard. So I guess I'm proud of like not losing my mind.
Qualley also played the deformed Monstro Eliza Sue in the film's climax, donning a claustrophobic bodysuit and prosthetics for 8 arduous days of shooting. Despite her
Oh, that
struggles,
looks
Qualley
awful.
delivers a seamless performance that holds up much better than her character's body does.
Rib for Best Performer in a Supporting Role goes to David Johnson for his performance as Andy in Alien Romulus. Congratulations to David Johnson for selling 2 different sides of the same character. It's a hard thing to do.
Congratulations to David Johnson for his far from robotic android performance. It's no small feat to be a standout character when you're standing next to a xenomorph.
Taking on the leading role of a horror film comes with a lot of pressure. You have to capture an audience's attention for the duration of your character's journey. And when your journey is as harrowing as the ones you find in horror, it's important you make for an excellent guide.
This year, we saw heroes and villains alike take center stage. Our nominees not only embodied their roles, but truly embraced the responsibility of leading their films. We have complicated and compelling protagonists, sinister central villains, and a couple who are somewhere in between.
Presenting this award for what might be our most competitive category is an actor who's played memorable characters, both big and small.
Thanks, James and Chelsea. You know, every acting performance needs to come from a place of truth. And in horror, that truth is usually unpleasant. So our nominees tonight took the leap and put their deepest fears and darkest desires right there in the spotlight. And what we got were some incredible career-defining performances. The nominees for Best Performance in a Leading Role are David Dastmalchian as Jack Delroy in Late Night with the Devil.
When Cameron and Colin Carnes set out to cast the role of late-night host Jack Delroy, a Fangoria article about regional horror hosts caught their eye. They decided to cast
heard
its
that
author,
movie.
actor David Dastmalchian, who did extensive
Good.
prep
It's
work
just
to
like,
keep his character
I was really
authentically
against
vintage.
the
It was a lot of
AI art that
watching
in it,
and
but
listening.
like I heard everything besides
to
that was
tapes. Just hundreds of hours of Dick Cavett, Johnny Carson, Don Lane.
He also had to portray Delroy's off-camera persona of a man pushed to sacrifice anything and anyone for success. Dastmalchian drew from his own history with addiction to add nuance to a character whose temptations led to demonic consequences.
This show is, and it always has been, for you. And Leo, can we please get that woman a Nielsen viewing diary? Come on. Thank you all. What do you say, night owls? On with the show, huh?
Yeah! Willa Fitzgerald as the lady in Strange Darling.
Upon reading the script for Strange Darling, Willa Fitzgerald knew she wanted the role of the lady, whom she described as a puzzle of a character seeking out human connection. While the film plays with allegories and non-linear storytelling, Fitzgerald viewed her character from a grounded, chronological standpoint.
I had the arc and the scaffolding of like what's happening to her emotionally, physically, and psychologically in order so that then it could be out of order and it would make sense back in order. Because it was just the most important thing to me that this is a human being.
To capture the character's desperate, survival-driven nature, Fitzgerald watched animal videos, particularly raccoons, and did somatic work to embody the physical wounds her character accumulates.
Even when we know we're going to spend the rest of our lives in a tiny little cage, we will fight to stay alive. I always used to wonder why people did that.
Hugh Grant as Mr. Reed in Heretic.
Hugh Grant used his famous charm to sinister effect while playing the philosophical killer, Mr. Reed. To prepare for the theologically dense role, Grant delved into months of research, creating mood boards and writing a decade-spanning biography for his character.
I studied lots of religions, I studied serial killers, I studied cult leaders.
Grant took specific inspiration from Scottish serial killer Dennis Nilsen for Mr. Reed's prankster personality. He focused on the dissonance between the character's pleasant demeanor and the horrible things he does, reasoning the film would be scarier the more it seemed like he was having fun.
Do you believe in God because somebody told you at an impressionable age that God is real, despite having doubts as you got older, despite seeing evidence to the contrary your whole lives? When your father lost control of his body, did you think it was God's plan to ruin his life?
Micah Monroe as Lee Harker in Longlegs.
Micah Monroe brings an intense stillness to FBI agent Lee Harker as a way to convey the character's childhood trauma. Her greatest hurdle was finding a way to convey Harker's emotions even as the character is suppressing them.
That was something that I really wanted to do with her, that nothing is brought up until it's brought up and boils, and there's no suppressing it anymore.
Monroe gives a quiet and layered performance, stilted and awkward while still as sharp as any other on-screen detective. It makes her the perfect foil for Nick Cage's over-the-top antagonist, as well as one of the most compelling protagonists of the year.
What happened to this one? Its head got cut off, and I don't know where it is. Guess that's more my job. Finding things, I mean.
Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle in The Substance.
Demi Moore was considering retiring from acting altogether when she booked the role of Elizabeth Sparkle, an older actress being forced out of her own career. Moore felt an instant connection to the character, but the process of playing her proved difficult. From the extensive prosthetics she had to wear to the...
For me, it was not about being glamorous. It was actually about really being willing to go to the unattractive places, to the super vulnerable, raw places.
She worked on and off set to dive deep into the character's desperation and pain, resulting in a performance hailed by critics as her best.
Naomi Scott as Sky Riley in Smile 2.
Naomi Scott was a fan of director Parker Finn since the debut of his short film Laura Hasn't Slept, which was the basis for the original Smile. Drawn by Finn's character-driven storytelling, Scott jumped at the opportunity to play haunted pop star Sky Riley in the follow-up.
She is being perceived at the highest, in the most intense way. She's
Hello,
crafted
Frog.
a version
I'm
of
watching the
herself
Dead Meat
that
Horror
she's put out
Awards.
into the world and then projected
What the
back to her,
heck
but I
is
don't think she quite
wrong?
also knows
What do you
who
mean?
she truly is. The fame can really add fuel to
Hold
the
on, I
fire.
can't hear
Scott drew on her experience as a vocalist to help craft Sky's stage persona, co-writing several of the songs used in the movie. But it was the film's
shiitake
emotional
mushrooms.
intensity that proved the most challenging, with Scott calling the film's final showdown the hardest 4 days of her career.
Every good thing in my life.
Hello.
And
Yeah.
it's broken because of me.
What are you doing? Watching the Dead Meat Horror Awards.
I hurt everything and everyone I touched.
Guess you lost her.
And the prime rib for best performance in a leading role is actually, for the first time ever, 2 people.
Whoa, okay.
David Dastmalchian in Late Night with the Devil and Demi Moore in The Substance. Both were magnetic
Okay.
and career-defining performances, as were all the nominees, by the way. But these 2 were both #1 in the ratings, so you had to respect the balance. Congratulations, everybody.
Hello, Dead Meat. Thank you for this honor. I'm so touched. I love Dead Meat. And so it's really cool that I get to be recognized for being a part of a film that I'm so proud of. You know I love prime rib, and you know I love horror, and you know how hard it is to make an independent horror film and for it to ever find its audience. And the fact that you guys are willing to give me this, especially in consideration of the incredible number of performances and films that came out in the horror space this year. I'm really touched. Thank you so much. I hope everybody is having a horrifically fun time today watching all of these. I hope my speech is at least somewhat interesting, because I feel like everyone always gives really good speeches at these, and I'm trying to think of something clever, original to say, other than the fact that I'm getting ready to go do some horrific, awful things on camera, and I hope that makes you happy. Thank you again.
Out of
Very
context,
grateful.
that sounds horrible.
Keep the meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations to David and Demi for our first ever double win. In the past, we've broken ties to determine a singular winner, but this year, even our tie-breaking protocol couldn't decide between them. And that's fine with us. We're happy to reward both of these phenomenal talents.
Fear is a universal feeling, but it's highly personal as well. Not everything scares everyone, and crafting a truly horrific experience is a skill people often take for granted. That's why we're here to highlight incredible horror directors like our nominees, since every one of them crafted a vision of fear that leapt off the screen.
To present this category, we have a director who's imparted many a nightmare onto the Dead Meat audience. He's last year's winner, the man behind the prime rib sweeping sensation When Evil Lurks. Please give a hand to Mr. Damien Rugna.
Thank you, James and Chelsea. Directing a horror movie is a fine-tuning fear. Sometimes it means building slow and subtle tension,
Bird
and
skeleton
sometimes
behind him.
means bashing someone's head with a hammer. This year, nominees came from different styles and backgrounds, but they all succeeded in bringing their unique vision to life. The nominees for Best Director are Cody for The Substance.
As Coralie
calling
Farjat
it.
entered her 40s,
Substance has
she
been getting a
grappled
lot
with
of awards
ideas
and
about
everything. I'm
aging
calling
as a
it.
woman in a youth-obsessed society. Those thoughts led to The Substance, a bold body horror film inspired by movies like The Fly, Mulholland Drive, and Requiem for a Dream.
I wanted it to
Calling
let
it.
go and to kind of splatter the world with it, saying, yes, this is a reality of it. This is what's happening. This is what the world is doing to us.
Farjat included copious close-ups of skin to mirror how the female body is constantly scrutinized in everyday life. Her vision was clear from the screenplay to post-production, including a 30-day shoot they called The Lab after the actors had wrapped. There, Farjat captured the film's striking close-ups and effect shots. She was so hands-on, she even injected herself with a real needle.
Greg Chardin for
What?
It's What's Inside.
Inspired by Freaky Friday and Black Mirror, Greg Jardin's sci-fi horror comedy It's What's Inside sees old friends reunite with a dangerous party game, which uses a device that allows them to swap bodies. With characters
Ooh.
pretending to be each other, It's What's Inside could have been a confusing mess. But Jardin worked with his
That-
cast
I need to watch
keep
that.
each
That sounds
character unique
interesting.
and recognizable, even as they're played by different actors.
He's having so much fun when he's
Yeah,
directing.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, he's his first audience, so he's so psyched about everything we're doing. Like, it feels like we're performing for him.
Working with cinematographer Kevin Fletcher, Jardin lit scenes with Suspiria-inspired colors that represented each character and their emotional states. The result is a stylized and kinetic mix of interpersonal conflict and existential horror.
Shane Schoenbrun for I Saw the TV Glow.
Jane Schoenbrun wrote this deeply personal psychological horror film after 2 months of hormone therapy. They wanted to capture the feeling of discovering their own gender identity and the fear of never coming to terms with it.
I think it's a film about how we cope with repression. It's a film about where repression comes from and the sort of quiet power of shame. And it's a film about how that can eventually and finally crack in a way that you can't hide from anymore.
They drew from their love of 90s television to create The Pink Opaque, an otherworldly show that demonstrates the power of fandom for young people experiencing loneliness and dysphoria. I Saw the TV Glow borrows from the surrealist tone of David Lynch and the body horror of David Cronenberg for a haunting, dreamlike experience unlike any other.
Osgood Perkins for Long Legs.
For this dread-infused serial killer story, director Oz Perkins drew from classic crime thrillers like The Silence of the Lambs and Seven. Playing with audience expectations, Long Legs is purposely familiar, until its twists and turns take it to jarring new territory.
You've got your central kind of spine, you've got your central inspiration, your kind of guiding light, and then from there, that's when you're able to really get into what you want to do.
Working with DP Andres Aroki, Perkins used negative space to suggest a demonic presence around his characters. Perkins also drew from his own upbringing, weaving a story about dark suburban secrets and childhood lies. It's taken to satanic extremes for protagonist Lee Harker and her mother Ruth.
Parker Finn
big
for
shotgun.
Smile 2.
When Parker Finn returned to helm the sequel to his own feature directorial
I wouldn't
debut,
be against
he wanted
this
to take
one
the
winning
story in an
either.
unexpected
This is one of the
direction.
movies
He
that
became
I've listed I've
upheld by
actually seen.
high-profile singers who
So
were forced to
Smile
have their
2 was
trauma
really
played out
good.
on a public
So I would not be
stage.
against this winning for
idea,
Best
as well as
Director.
pop stars from Britney Spears to Lady Gaga to Taylor Swift inspired the character of Sky Riley, and Smile 2 was born. To bring the horror of Smile to the dazzling world of a pop superstar, Finn contrasted the glitz and glamour with a cold, threatening, and almost alien feel, combining gold hues and glitter with harsh bright lights and sparsely decorated environments.
Sky is a character who
Yeah, the way the
is
movie
split between the
looked
demands
and
of
everything
celebrity
was
and
freaking-
everyone around her in her life versus the real person behind the scenes.
I need to review it. I
and really
still
love
haven't
that
reviewed this
dichotomy.
movie. I need
Felt
to
like a
review
really
it.
Right place to start for a Smile film.
It's all about
wanna
the horror
rewatch it
beneath
before
the
I review
spectacle
it, though.
and the gilded cage of fame that Sky has found herself trapped in.
Robert Eggers for Nosferatu.
Robert Eggers has been trying to
wait, I
resurrect
forgot about Nosferatu. This
ever
might
since
win.
he saw the film as a 9-year-old. Like his previous work, Nosferatu is exhaustively researched and steeped in the real history and folklore of northern Germany in the 1800s. Eggers immersed his cast in the setting. He wrote a full novella about his version of Ellen Hutter and created off-camera set details that only his actors would see.
In the Hardings' living room, I remember nosing around in the drawers at the back of the set. They weren't really going to be used, but they had all these. I opened a drawer and there were these handwritten love letters between Anna and her husband, which are there, which is amazing.
His obsessive attention to detail and historical accuracy were shared by his design team, from costumes to sets, as they worked together to realize his most personal film
This is
yet.
And the
haven't
prime rep for Best Director
I've
goes to Cogali Fakshad. Congratulations, Cogali Fakshad, for making us laugh, cry, and sick, and all at the same time.
Congratulations to Coralie Farja. It was a tough competition this year, but Farja's commitment to her craft is as awe-inspiring as it is horrifying to watch.
It's frequently been said on Dead Meat that completing any movie is a miracle. Every single one of them has been touched by dozens, often hundreds of people, working together to create the films we love. This year, we sadly said goodbye to many who contributed to the genre. And we'd like to take a moment to thank them and honor the work they left behind.
Zuzu has brushed you with his wings.
Oh yeah, I forgot we lost James Earl Jones last year.
I believe the finest films being done today are done by the original, innovative filmmakers who have the courage to take a chance and to gamble. So I say to you, keep gambling, keep taking chances.
Amazing how fast you get used to such a big place.
Oh my goodness, wait.
tell you,
Did
when
I
we
know?
first came up here,
Oh my, I
thought
didn't
it was
know
kinda
Shelley
scary.
Duvall passed away last year.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to
He
one good
also
scare.
passed away. What? I didn't know that.
Oh, that was wonderful. A toast. A toast to, yes, long friendship.
Rest in peace.
Catch you fuckers at a bad time.
You were not content with the stories, so I was obliged to go.
Oh, I forgot about Tony Todd. Yeah. Rest in peace, man.
My victim. I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So now I must shed innocent blood.
To go with cinema is to go like the same kind of thing you go with music. It talks to you, but not with words alone. So just go in open and just go in and have an experience in a different world.
The hardest thing in this world is to live in it.
Wait, what?
Well, normally I write about witchcraft, but what are vampires but witches that suck blood?
Paul Baltimore, master of witchcraft, no more.
Nevermore.
Rest in peace to all those people.
Thanks to all of you for your talent and care.
You'll be dearly missed by all of us in the horror community.
We're now coming to the part of the show where we present the category voted on by you, the audience. While our panelists provide a certain expertise and experience, the horror genre has always survived and thrived because of the fans. We asked all of you to pick your favorite movie of the year, and the answer this time was a resounding blowout.
Presenting this award is an actor who's a fan favorite of both of ours. Horror fans may recognize him as a suspected serial killer in Summer of '84, or from his hilarious performance in Scare Package 2, Rad Chad's Revenge. But he will always be near and dear to our hearts as Harry Crane from the impeccable Mad Men. It is our immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Rich Sommer.
Thank you. Thank you, friends. Thank you, James and Chelsea, for having me. It's an honor to be here. My name is Rich Sommer, and I am here to present the prime rib for fan favorite of 2024. Now, sometimes it feels like
he's treating this like it's the Oscars.
Critics and audiences. Some people, they just want a great story, and some people just want a great scare, and some people just want some good old-fashioned blood and guts. But once in a while, a movie comes along that seems to tick all the boxes. It covers all the bases. It fires on all of the cylinders. And this year's winner of the prime rib for fan favorite of 2024 was overwhelmingly voted on by the thousands of Dead Meat viewers who voted, choosing it. They said everybody agreed. This is the one. It's a movie that brought everybody together. It's gonna maybe give us world peace. I don't know, remains to be seen. The winner of the prime rib for fan favorite 2024 is The Substance.
I figured.
Congratulations to the cast and crew of The Substance for finding a way to synergize good art and good entertainment.
I was hoping for Smile
and,
2 or Abigail, but
bringing us all together, buying the world a Coke. Congrats.
Congratulations to The Substance. I really didn't know how the vote would go this year, but the fact that this weird French body horror flick won speaks to how universal its story is.
As the horror genre continues to grow, we have more ways than ever to make our skin crawl. The latest new addition is Together, the feature debut of writer-director Michael Shanks, which we have a preview for right now.
There's still about 20 minutes left. I need to move up into my chair because I'm horror, and it is starting to.
Horror fans are no strangers to remakes and sequels. In fact, franchising is kind of the bread and butter of the genre. After all, what would Jason be if he was still a little swamp boy at the end of Friday the 13th? While critics might turn their noses up at them, horror continually proves the merit of retelling stories, giving them a chance to grow and evolve like the best campfire tales.
Presenting this award is a personal friend of ours. She's been in shows like Gotham Knights and Doom Patrol, and movies like They Slash Them. Horror fans will get to see her this year in a sequel of her own, Final Destination Bloodlines. Please welcome our friend, Anna Laurie.
Thanks, James and Chelsea. Oh, better be careful. Don't want to get Final Destinationed. Telling new stories in familiar territory is an art form all in its own. And as the past few years have proven, even the longest-running franchises are ripe for redefining and reinterpretation.
What?
This year saw some series expand to new territory, and others return to original form. The nominees for Best Remake or Sequel are Alien Romulus.
Okay.
Alien Romulus is winning.
Standalone
I'm already
Alien
calling
franchise,
it.
Alien
I'm calling
Romulus
it.
is an American and British co-production that takes place between the events of the first two films. The movie follows a group of young space colonists who encounter terrifying creatures while attempting to scavenge an abandoned space station.
Navarro, are you all right? What's wrong? What do you need? Navarro.
The film was written and directed by Fede Alvarez and produced by Michael Pruce, Walter Hill, and franchise creator Ridley Scott.
This is a much needed and well overdue upgrade for humanity. We simply cannot wait for evolution anymore.
The First Omen.
The First Omen is an American film that serves as a prequel to 1976's The Omen. It follows an American nun working at a Catholic orphanage in Rome, where she uncovers a sinister conspiracy to bring about the Antichrist.
Now how do you control people who no longer believe in your stories of fire and brimstone? People who do not seem to fear. You create something to fear.
The film was directed by Arkasha Stevenson and written by Stevenson, Tim Smith, and Keith Thomas. It was produced by David S. Goyer and Keith Levine.
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is an American film and a remake of the 1922 German silent film Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, which was itself an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. The film tells the story of a young married couple who is preyed on by an ancient, powerful vampire.
You cannot love.
I cannot. Yet I cannot be sated without you.
It was written and directed by Robert Eggers and produced by Eggers, Jeff Robinoff, John Graham, Chris Columbus, and Eleanor Columbus.
I shall persist to join you every night, first in sleep, then in your arms. Everything will be laced with abomination, and you'll be knee-deep in blood. Everyone will cry, there will be none to bury the dead.
Smile 2.
A sequel to 2022's Smile, Smile 2 is
I
an
would love for
American
this to
film
win,
about a pop
but I
star
don't
who
think it's
finds
going
herself
to.
targeted by a deadly supernatural force while preparing to embark on a world tour.
I wish you could feel what it's like
having to live inside my head.
The film was written and directed by Parker Finn, who returned to the sequel after writing and directing the original film. Smile 2 was produced by Parker Finn, Marty Bowen, Wick Godfrey, Isaac Klausner, and Robert Salerno.
No, stay away from me. Stay away from me. Paul's dead! You're not! Paul, stop smiling at me!
Speak No Evil.
Speak No Evil is an American remake of the 2022 Danish film of the same name. It follows an American family on a visit to the remote family farmhouse of a British couple, where they discover
If this
that their
wins, I'll be
seemingly idyllic
surprised.
life hides a twisted secret.
It's not even about the kill for me. It's always been about the hunt. You know, getting them in the crosshairs, luring the fish onto the hook. That's the game. That's what I live for.
The film was written and directed by James Watkins and produced by Jason Blum and Paul Ritchie.
Why are you doing this? Because you let us.
Terrifier 3.
The third entry
Yeah,
in
no,
the
this is
famously
gonna be on
bloody
there.
franchise, Terrifier 3 is an American film that follows
still
the
haven't
final
watched
girl,
it.
Sienna Shaw, 5 years after
I
the
saw it in
events of
theaters.
the previous film. She attempts to return to a normal life during the Christmas season, only to find herself pursued by Art the Clown and his demon-possessed accomplice.
Demons try to enter our world, only they can't do it alone. They have to choose a vessel. Someone recently deceased who functions as a bridge between worlds, but not just anyone. Someone sinister.
The film was written and directed by franchise creator Damien Leone and produced by Leone and Phil Falcone.
I hope you like it. Best gift ever.
And the prime rib for best remake or sequel goes to Smile 2.
Oh!
Congratulations to the cast and crew of Smile 2 on bringing their demons to the big stage.
Hey, Dead Meat. Thank you guys so much for the award and for all the Smile 2 love. I don't know what to say. Genuinely, last year there were so many good horror films, and it's just an honor to be included. And yeah, thank you, truly.
Congratulations to the team behind Smile 2, which proves the power of pairing a repeat villain with a completely different protagonist. Excellent job all around.
As long as horror has existed as a genre, it's been a way to explore ideas and fears traditionally rejected by mainstream media. As a result, the genre has become a haven for outsider art and experimental filmmaking. Our nominees this year embrace that spirit of innovation, tearing down traditional structure and tone to create wholly unique experiences for those willing to engage with them.
Presenting this category is a filmmaker who can produce as many laughs as he can scares. He's brought plenty of both to audiences with films like Scare Me, Werewolves Within, and this year's Hard Eyes. Please make some noise for writer, director, and comedian Josh Rubin.
Thank you very much, James and Chelsea. You know, the horror genre is where we can tell really bold, wild, scary-ass tales, not unlike this year's nominees. And we in the horror community, we wouldn't have it any other way. And so it's my immense pleasure to present this year's nominees for Best Original Film. The nominees for Best Original Film are Heretic.
Heretic is an American film about a pair of Mormon missionaries who find themselves trapped in a deadly game of philosophical cat and mouse.
I think that we're being studied. I think he wants to learn something about us based on which door we open. Is that the game?
The film was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and produced by Stacey Scher, Julia Glauzy, and Jeanette Volturno.
It will make your stomachs sink a little and your hearts beat faster. It will make you sick. It may even, I'm very sorry, make you want to die.
In a Violent Nature.
In a Violent Nature is a Canadian film that presents a typical slasher from the perspective of its unstoppable killer.
You remember me? I remember you. I remember what you did 10 years ago.
The film was written and directed by Chris Nash and produced by Peter Kuplowski and Shannon Hanmer.
Okay, cut 11. Your head's not in the shot. Okay. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I Saw the TV Glow.
I Saw the TV Glow is an American film that follows two teens who become obsessed with a frightening children's show.
When you think back on watching The Pink Opaque, how do you remember it?
How do I remember it?
Yeah. Do you remember it as just a TV show?
The film was written and directed by Jane Schoenbrunn and produced by Emma Stone, Dave McCary, Sam Intley, Sarah Winchall, and Allie Herding.
It's okay. So I don't remember anything. Your real name? Your superpowers? Your heart? You won't even remember that you're dying.
Longlegs.
Longlegs is an American film that follows a young FBI agent's hunt for a satanic serial killer.
You said 4 were murdered. I don't understand.
Neither do we.
A letter was left with the bodies, written in a coded alphabet and not in the hand of anyone in any way connected to the families. So we have 10 letters like it, made by the same hand, 10 houses, 10 families, over the past 30 years. And all of them signed with one word: Longlegs.
The film was written and directed by Osgood Perkins. It was produced by Nicolas Cage, who also stars, as well as Dave Kagan, Brian Kavanaugh Jones, Dave Kaplan, and Chris Ferguson.
What's your name? Little angel?
Scooby-Doo.
Nice to meet you, Carrie Ann.
They're gonna say the They're gonna say the substance, and the substance is gonna win the award. I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
Dark. Because you are the dark.
Strange Darling.
Strange Darling is an American film that depicts a serial killer's final murders in a twisting, non-linear narrative.
Looks like checkmate.
Yeah. And then some.
There's nothing more than checkmate. It either is or it isn't. You fucking Philistine.
The film was written and directed by J.T. Molnar and produced by Giovanni Ribisi, Bill Block, Roy Lee, and Steven Schneider.
It's a goddamn tragedy. Men think that we're these prudes who don't like casual sex. Most of us fucking love casual sex. We just want to know that murder isn't going to be served on the side.
Jesus. Never thought about it that way.
Of course you haven't. You're not a woman.
The Substance.
It's gonna
The
win.
Substance is a French, British, and American co-production about an aging actress who takes a youth-restoring serum with horrific side effects. It was written and directed by Coralie Farja, who produced alongside Tim Bevan and Eric Fellner.
Would you share one of your little beauty secrets with us?
And the prime rib for Best Original Horror Movie goes to
The Substance.
The Substance.
Called it.
Thank you so much to the team behind
Called
The
it.
Substance, especially my buddy Brian who did VFX. Y'all took horror to very new, very nauseating heights. Congratulations.
Congratulations to The Substance for its 5th win of the night. Each and every one of them well deserved.
And congratulations to all the other winners and nominees tonight. It was an incredibly tough competition this year, but kind of has been every year.
Here's
Sure
what they're
has.
saying
We've
tonight
had
when
some
this
great
premiered
horror
in the
movies
middle of the
in
day.
2020s, and I hope to see that trend continue. As we reach the end of the night, we want to thank the many people responsible for it. Once again, our producer, MK Vandenberg, who put the show together, our wonderful co-host, Zoran, and the entire Dead Meat team. They've been working on this thing for months, and will continue working on it after we're done shooting this footage.
We'd also like to once again thank our panelists this year, as well as the production crew here in the studio with us tonight. And finally, we'd like to thank you, the viewer, for supporting horror films and horror filmmakers, and also us. We only get the opportunity to do things like this thanks to your dedication and support.
We'll see you next year, everybody. But until next time, I'm James A. Janice.
I'm Chelsea Rebecca.
And this has been the Dead Meat Horror Awards. Be good people.
Yay. Oh, well, that was the Dead Meat Horror Awards for this year. Anyone who watched the stream, thank you for joining in and everything. I really... Right, there's like an after credit thing.
Oh. Hey there. Thanks for clicking the link. I'm here to tell you about a great shared housing plan that... Whoa there! You trying to leave? Well, you should have thought of that before clicking the link. But now it's too late. I'm in your system. And I know what you're thinking, but James, it was your link. I can trust you. But can you? Can you? After all, phishing attacks often mimic friends
Okay,
or coworkers.
it's just a
Steal your data
sponsorship.
by providing links.
It's just a sponsorship. I appreciate them putting it at the end and not like putting. But thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I so happy to I like watching the Dead Meat Awards and everything. I enjoyed it. Everything. So yeah, so that's all I gotta say for this reaction, guys. Thank you so much for watching. All of you guys in the next one. If you get into the channel tomorrow stream, keep an eye out for every one of you.